Have you ever had that feeling where you really wish someone could see what you could see? Where you have something in your mind, some vision for something, and you just know that the person you're talking to or the people that you're with, they're just not on the same page as you? That's where this whole idea of the vivid vision comes from, is articulating and communicating in a way what you can see about your business in a way that others can almost read your mind. But it starts with a concept that I learned 20 odd years ago. I went to an event one day at lunch with about 120 entrepreneurs that had been invited. About 16 of us showed up. And the speaker was talking about looking into a crystal ball. And we thought he was a little bit crazy, a little bit kind of flaky, because we didn't really understand what looking into a crystal ball had anything to do with the business world. But his idea was, if you could visualize your business, if you could think about your business in the future in a way and almost picture yourself in that future state, you'd be able to start figuring out how to make that come true. It's actually rooted in science. And the idea is how athletes, very high performance athletes, Olympians would actually look into the future and how they would visualize themselves performing the event. And the idea is that if they can think of themselves performing the event and they can roll themselves through that event over and over again, when they're actually performing, it's almost like they're performing completely on instinct. Recently I just heard about a mixed martial arts fighter, Conor McGregor, who would have this vision of himself winning the ultimate prizes. And he had this vision that was so clear that at the end of his match, he had the two title belts, one over each shoulder. And he kind of won this final match and was handed the one belt, and he had it tossed over his shoulder, and he's like, "Where's the other belt?" And they were saying, "Well, we only give out one belt at a time." He's like, "No, you don't understand." He said, "For years, I've been chasing this vision down, and I had this picture, this mental image of my mind standing here with a belt over each shoulder." And they actually had to go out and find one of the other belts from earlier in the day and borrow it from another athlete so he could toss a belt over each shoulder to almost complete that vivid vision. And for Conor, that was a vision that was so strong that he was able to chase that down. Well, imagine if you could actually have a vision that's so strong for your business that you could chase it down. Some vision that was so empowering to you and so crystallizing for you. But also imagine if every one of your employees and suppliers and customers could see what you could see as well. Now, in the business world, we see a lot of companies do this, but they do it in the home building area or people doing renovations. So I don't know if you've done a renovation or if you've maybe built a house or renovated a kitchen in your home, but the idea is, in that sense, you really are the CEO of that project. You have a vision of what you want the final project to look and feel like, and you don't know how to do the electrical, you don't know how to do the plumbing, you don't really know how to do any of the actual framing, but you know what the finished product needs to look like. You'd have sketches, you'd have drawings, you'd have pictures of what that finished home would look like, and you would hand them to a contractor, and the contractor would kind of climb inside of your mind with you for a bit, and they would start to see what you could see. And they would be able to take your visions, your drawings and sketches away, and they'd go away for a couple of weeks and they would come back with blueprints, and they would show you the blueprints or the plans to make your vision come true, and you would sign off on those plans with the contractor, and then they would be able to get the workers to come in to help you actually build your plan or build your vision. In the business world, it's the same thing. You as the entrepreneur have to be so clear on what you're building that you can see where you're going, that your team can then start putting the plans in place to make that come true. I'll give you an example. Let's say that you think about a movie called The Sound of Music. Now, I don't know if you've seen the movie The Sound of Music, but if you have seen the movie, there's a very famous scene where they're having a picnic. If I asked you to go out tomorrow and organize a picnic that looked just like the movie The Sound of Music, you probably have no idea, unless you've seen the movie, what it would look like. You might think the picnic was at a lake with the kids who were attending playing baseball or playing croquet, and you might think that there's a hut where you're maybe barbecuing your food. But the reality is the picnic in the movie The Sound of Music was up in the mountains. The kids were listening to Julie Andrews playing guitar, and they were singing and dancing, and they certainly weren't barbecuing burgers. They were eating the food out of the picnic basket they brought. But if you haven't seen that movie, if you haven't seen the same vision that I've seen with the movie, you wouldn't know how to recreate that scene. In the business world, we often get frustrated. You as an entrepreneur building your company probably get frustrated every day wondering why people just can't read your mind, why they can't see what you can see. So this concept of the vivid vision is a way for you to articulate what you can see in your mind so that other people can see exactly what you can see as well. So if you're going to write one for yourself, and I highly suggest you do, it'll become the clarifying crystallization of where you're going, but also becomes the aligning force for you. You have to get out of the box. I don't want you to sit in your boardroom or your office or even sit at home with your laptop in writing a vivid vision. You have to go somewhere where you're inspired, somewhere around nature, somewhere where you can just relax and let your mind drift a little bit. When I wrote my first vivid vision for my company 10 years ago now, I actually sat in my backyard in a hammock and I just completely relaxed. I had my headphones on, I was listening to some music, and I just allowed my mind to drift a little bit and just allowed my mind to relax and think. And I didn't feel kind of compressed with the business and the boardroom and, you know, the how. And I think if you can get out of your office and go somewhere where you're inspired, you will be able to dream about the future a little bit. I almost want you to pretend that you're going into a time machine. You know, you're hopping into that time machine with Michael J. Fox and you're traveling out into the future, and you're going to stop 3 years from now. Let's say that you're leaning out to December 31st, 2020 or December 31st, 2025. You lean out 3 years and you look around and you describe what you can see.